Let's dig into the first two steps to turn observations into insights. As a reminder, the first step is to gather all of the data from our research in one place. Let's say you and your teammates took all of your notes during the usability study on sticky notes. You now need to gather everyone's sticky notes in one place. Then it's time to organize the data so that it's easier to interpret or understand. One method you can use to organize data is called affinity diagramming, which is what we'll discuss in this video. Let's jump right in. An affinity is a feeling of like-mindedness or compatibility towards something or someone. Have you ever run into someone from your hometown while traveling? You likely felt an affinity towards them. You had something important in common that made you feel closer to each other. An affinity diagram is a method of synthesizing that organizes data into groups with common themes or relationships. Affinity diagramming is a quick and easy way to gather observations during a usability study and synthesize data. To make an affinity diagram, you need all of the observations from participants to be on sticky notes. So if you used spreadsheet note-taking or took notes on a single piece of paper, you need to transfer all of the observations from participants onto sticky notes. You can skip this step if you took notes during the usability study on sticky notes in the first place. Each participant observation should be on its own sticky note. After all the interviews, you'll have a whole stack of sticky notes, each with one observation. Now it's time to organize. For people who love organizing, this activity can be really fun. As you review the sticky notes, start to make 4 or 5 clusters. You can place these clusters on a wall, window, or whiteboard. Your job is to bundle together sticky notes that have related ideas or themes. In order to do this, compare sticky notes one by one and ask yourself, is the observation on this sticky note similar to any of the other observations I've reviewed so far, or is this observation different? Imagine you're organizing the books on your bookshelf by topic. Start by grabbing 3 books on the shelf. Next, look at each one to see what genre it is. Let's say you picked 2 mystery books and a romance novel. You now have 2 clusters, mystery books and romance novels. When you grab the next book, a cookbook, you'll decide if it goes into one of the clusters you already have, or if you need to start a new cluster. Let's go back to our example usability study. You might pick up a sticky note that says, issues selecting a dog walker from the list. Another sticky note might say, can't find the button to select a dog walker. Even though these are different observations, they are related because they're both about selecting a dog walker from the list of available options. In other words, the participants got confused in the same place. So you should cluster those notes together. You'll continue this process until you have gone through all of your sticky notes. As you wrap up, take a step back and look through the clusters again. Perhaps you'll want to move a few sticky notes from one cluster to another. Keep in mind that there will always be a few sticky notes left over at the end that don't relate to other ideas. You can put them aside if they don't relate to any clusters. So what makes affinity diagramming useful for synthesizing data? By putting sticky notes in clusters, you can easily spot themes across all of the observations from your usability study. It's also easy to shift ideas around between themes because you can peel and stick the notes in different locations. One more note about affinity diagramming. Although it's highly visual in nature, affinity diagramming can be adapted for participants who are visually impaired. For instance, during an affinity diagramming session, a participant with a visual impairment could dictate what to write on each sticky note. After stickies are grouped together, someone could read each sticky note out loud and ask participants to suggest groupings. This way, you keep all participants involved. We just learned a lot about affinity diagramming. Hopefully now you're feeling a little more confident about how to gather all of the data from your research in one place and organize that data so it's easy to understand. You also got a sneak peek into the next step, find themes. Coming up, we'll talk more about how to find themes in the data. Let's keep going.